that are doing the shadiest of shady stuff. And you get,
I love that about you.
there.
That's how you are.
Yeah.
Down to earth, humble, nobody cares. You look like you're broke the way you dress. You know? Hold on, when they saw you, they didn't say, look at this specimen. Let's get this.
Great. 85. 13 guys generated 85 deals.
You don't pay anything for dispo.
Holy. What's up, guys? Welcome to another 11 Out podcast. We're bringing it bigger and better than ever before. Once again, with my co-host Zachary Keeps. Zach, thanks for kicking it here again today.
This one is so special to
This is one of you're a guest that I've wanted to have on for a very long time. Like, when I moved here, I was like, I need to get Doug Hopkins on. We hadn't even met yet. We met just a couple months ago at CG.
Yep.
But Doug is an absolute legend in this space, doing numbers like nothing else. Over 135 deals just last month. Guys, that's not per year.
Over 3 markets, though.
Over 3 markets.
Yes.
85 here in Arizona.
Correct.
You said
48 in Southern California.
In Southern California.
And I think just 3. We just started out in Las Vegas.
Absolutely incredible. Well, Doug, thank you so much for
thank
coming
you very
on.
much. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Zach, thanks for co-hosting.
Of course. Doug and I go way back, by the way, and we'll really delve into it. But a large majority of my portfolio, of my hundreds of homes, is actually acquired through Doug and his team. So this is really cool.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we went to an investor meetup. That's where
Yeah.
you never know. That's why I still go to this day to a lot of investor meetups just to meet people. And wound up hooking up with Zach, and the rest is history. I mean, how many hundreds of deals have we done together?
We've probably done over 1,000, I would think, literally.
Yeah.
From
Wow.
literally. I mean,
This is the Arizona Power Team right here.
I mean, I could buy 6 or 7 from you guys easily a month in multiple years. So I was calculating numbers in my head. I'm thinking we've done about $50 million worth of gross deals.
Jeez.
Ballpark.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
crazy.
This is the Power Couch
And it's
today.
real. Like, it's insane. But this relationship goes deep.
Well, it's great because I know if we sell to you, I don't have to worry about it. Once you say yes, that's it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I love about it. And that's the people I choose to work with. Is, I've worked a lot with people that didn't perform.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
When it's the title company's calling and saying, "Hey, there's no money here." There's and they're like, "Well, we couldn't get the hard money loan. My hard money loan fell out," or whatever the excuse is, and you're scrambling at the last minute. And you have a seller that's really upset and pissed off, and and I don't have to worry about that with Zach.
With
I mean,
Zach.
it's
That's
done.
incredible.
As soon as it says yes, it's period. It's over.
Same thing with Doug. Like, they'll send out a deal, and what I love about doing business with you guys, they have all their pictures. I mean, they're your process, and we should delve into it to help other wholesalers. He is so transparent. They'll send 70 pictures, sometimes videos. They're the first guys to actually point out something negative on a home. Hey, we noticed the structure. It'll be in the email. Hey, this one's a 3-2. AC is roughly X amount of years. Roof's X amount of years. By the way, notice the structural crack in the corner. No wholesalers highlight something negative like that. There's no agenda other than transparency and honesty. And God forbid, there's been a couple times where I bought the house and maybe the person who's representing Doug didn't see something. I'll go out there and say, hey, I think you missed this. And they did, no worries. What is it going to cost to fix that? And his team says, on the next deal, because we do so much business, we're going to take a deduction on that. And they've done that so many times. So I'm so grateful. So when I can buy, and I always say, hey, never buy sight unseen. But with a guy like Doug and his team, you can buy sight unseen because they're a guarantee as well.
Absolutely.
And nobody does business like that anymore.
Yeah. So what I want to do today is dive into like who you are,
Totally.
how you got into real estate, because I know you probably have a very interesting story, and then what really makes me excited about this podcast is figuring out what you're doing that is different than everyone else, because no one in this market has numbers like you. In fact, there's hardly anyone in the country, in the United States of America, in the world that does numbers like you. So you're obviously doing something different. You're doing something right. You're operating. We all have the same 24 hours in the day. You're doing something different. I want to try to dive in and figure out what that is today. But let's go back. Can you tell us a little bit about your past? Like, who's Doug and how did you end up in real estate?
Got it. So I've told this story a few times. I was a door-to-door cable salesman going through college, going through Arizona State University.
Were you born in Arizona? By
I
the
was
way?
not. I was born in New York.
Okay.
Yeah, and my parents moved out here when I was a junior in high school.
Yep.
By the way, that was the worst year of my, getting my divorce was the worst year of my life. But second worst year of my life was moving out to Arizona. Because I had grown up in New York, in New York, I was in a small town in New York, about an hour north of the city. And
Westchester, right?
yep, in Westchester. And everyone just stayed there. So, I mean, generations of people. I knew everybody in my school, everybody. And from, up and down. So, I knew I was in 11th or 10th grade when I moved out here, between 10th and 11th. But I knew everyone from 7th grade to senior. And because we all lived in the same small town and played Little League baseball together and football, and went to the same school and knew all the families. And so when I moved out here, I was 16, didn't know anybody. And I went into a school, my whole school of Fox Lane High School in Westchester County had 1,500 students in it from freshman to senior. My graduating class had 1,500 students.
Wow.
At Mesa Mountain View High School.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know a single soul. And I was 16, and I had gotten in trouble over the summer with my mom, so she would not let me have a driver's license.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the time on campus, if you wanted to leave, the juniors and seniors, they all had licenses, you could go off campus for lunch. So everyone would go out and go to McDonald's or Barrows or whatever it may be. And I was stuck there with the freshmen and sophomores who I didn't know and I wasn't even in any classes with. So I had to learn how to meet people.
Yeah.
And, I never really had to put myself out there and go up to a table and say, "Hi, my name is Doug. Do you mind if I sit and eat with you?"
Yeah.
And, it was a really, really tough thing to do and come out of your shell a little bit, because I never had to do that before growing up. And I think that helped me quite a bit. That year was a long year. I remember crying myself to sleep at night.
Wow.
Back then, because I'm old, I'm much older than you guys.
Yeah.
There was no cell phones yet. There was no internet. You couldn't email somebody or text them. It was a phone call, which was 75 cents a minute. Back because I had a girlfriend for years. I had I played football and baseball, and it was very integral in that. When I moved out here, we moved out here in August, day before school started, and football tryouts had already happened, and so I couldn't play football, so I didn't get to meet a bunch of people.
Hold on, when they saw you, they didn't say, "Look at this specimen. Let's get this guy. We're gonna make an exception from this guy from New York, this beast of an athlete." And you were a very good football and baseball player.
Yeah. I tried, and they said no because it wouldn't be fair to the other people.
Got it.
So, I didn't get to play that year, and it was a rough year. And then I was going to actually. The coach from Fox Lane was thinking about letting me stay with him for my senior year, and also I had some friends that their parents were considering letting me stay because I was so miserable in my junior year, and I got in crazy thing happened. I got into an accident. I've never told this story before. I was on a dirt road, and it was called Succabone Road. And I just dropped my sister off, and I was coming back to the house. I was staying at my girlfriend's house. Her parents let me stay there, and I went around a corner, and my tires were maybe this big, and I went around too fast, and I started fishtailing, and next thing I know, I start flipping, and I literally landed on the roof. I was upside down. Tires in the air. And I looked out my passenger side or my driver's side window, and it was crushed, and I couldn't get out. And I looked at my sister. I didn't have air conditioning, and it was really hot. So my sister had left the window down, and I was able to crawl out, and I just started running because you see in the movies you think the thing's going to explode,
Yeah. Hey.
And so I just started running. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm in the middle of the woods, nowhere. And I see a house out in the distance, and I just start running to this house. And I'm ringing the doorbell, going crazy, and they come out. "What's going on?" I go, "I just got into an accident." And so the next thing I know, the fire department comes out, the police department comes out. And I know the police department. It was my buddy Brant Salmon. It was his dad. And he comes. He's like, "Hey, so what happened here?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to get in trouble." I'm like, "Well, a car came out, and then I swerved to avoid him, and I wound up doing. He's like, that must be the same one that my son did the same thing.
Right.
Maybe that's the same car.
Right.
So I wound up asking Brent, I'm like, hey, was there ever a car? He's like, no, that's just this guy. I go,
amazing.
yeah.
That's amazing.
So he
Yeah.
came up with the same.
That's amazing. That's
So I didn't get a ticket or anything.
wow.
But yeah. So then everyone was like, yeah, there's way too much responsibility. So I came back for my senior year, wound up playing football, meeting a bunch of friends, still have a ton of, in fact, I just met with a couple of them yesterday.
Wow.
We still get together for drinks and go out and have a good time. And, yeah, so it wound up being a great senior year. And then obviously, with my career taking off here in Arizona, very, very thankful that I didn't go back for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go from, first of all, one thing that's very unique about you is our business is very serious, right? There's a lot of money on the table, deals, you spend a lot of investment capital on your advertising, but you're always a laid back guy. Everybody who knows you loves you. You're always joking, laughing, having a beer, traveling. Has that always been your style in terms of persona, or has that changed with success?
No, I think, I get that a lot. Like, hey, you're so humble or whatever. I don't care how much money you have.
Right.
Like some of my best friends make less than $100,000, maybe half of that.
Mm-hmm.
And some of my best friends make more money than me.
Sure.
I don't care.
Right.
Money is money, and it doesn't matter how much money you have. You're either a good person or not. You either add something of value, whether it be, your personality, enjoy being around them, you're a good person, you have character, you have morals.
Yep.
Those are the people I want to be around. I don't care what tax bracket you're in or anything like that. I mean, heck, I hang out at the Loyal Order of the Moose or the Elks Lodge, man.
Right.
I love
that about
going in
you.
there.
That's how you are.
Yeah.
Down to earth, humble. Nobody cares. You look like you're broke the way you dress. Nobody would know.
So I used to have flip flops on every day, right?
Look, you and me, no watches.
No.
Shitty shoes. Okay.
No, I wear this. This is the only thing I have. I wear this. My mother, instead of a car, for my 16th birthday, I got this.
Nice.
And
Wow.
so that's what I wear. And that's it. Yeah, I don't have any watches or anything like that. I have my grandfather's old watch.
Got it.
I can't even. I don't care for it.
I get it.
Yeah, I live in the same house. Now I'm building a house. I decided to build a house which is going to be good, but I've lived in the same house for 12 years. Before that, I lived in the same house for 12 years. Things like that, I don't care. So I think one of the reasons I've gotten to where I've gotten to is because I didn't go out and buy all the things. That's some people's deal. They want the Rolexes and the $500,000 cars and the $5 million houses and everything like that. And that's just not me. I don't know. I've never been that guy. I've always taken that money and reinvested it in real estate.
Yep.
To be able to have the security, in my later life, and also to leave a legacy behind to my family, to my kids and to their kids, which was very important to me, and it was my purpose for a long time. I've actually struggled with my purpose since I've become successful and I've pretty much can retire if I want to, but I'm like, what would I do? I love real estate. I absolutely love it. Like, I still go on appointments every day.
Yeah.
Every day. I'm going on an appointment right after this.
Yeah.
So on a Saturday,
Same. I'm going out to buy after this as well. We talked about it.
Yeah.
Are people? So let's back up a little bit, then we'll get into the appointments
Sure.
and kind of the TV. So you graduate high school, you get kind of acclimated in Arizona. Then I know you went off to college. You started talking about doing some door-to-door sales. What happened with the college, and how did you end up going into real estate? And was your family in real estate before?
No. So my parents have been, they had an antique store, still have it to this day. So they were in antiques. I thought I was going to get in antiques and kind of take it to a new level. I wanted to open up an antique mall and rent out all the spaces and that sort of thing. And that's what I was planning on doing. But the problem is I didn't love antiques.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were ugly. My parents are always trying to get me to, hey, take this for your new house. And I'm like, that's not going in my house.
Right.
Unless it's sports memorabilia or something.
Sports memorabilia.
Yeah.
That was the great thing, because growing up, they went to all these flea markets and sales and everything else, and a lot of times they would sell baseball cards there. So I have a great baseball card collection, and I don't know how much it's worth now. It's just sitting there in my closet at my parents' house, and it's still sitting there. In fact, when I got married in 1999, I sold a bunch of them that paid for my wedding.
Good time to probably exit the cards in '99.
Yeah,
I bet. Who knows?
it's coming back now, though.
Is it coming back?
Yeah. It's
Okay, I gotta find my cards. They're in my mom's basement. Notice, Siri, look for your baseball cards. Okay, thanks.
So I don't know where were we on that?
So basically, your journey from high school to college, and we talked about your parents.
Okay.
Were they in real estate? No, they had the antique store.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you weren't passionate about it.
Yeah.
So you were going to decide on what you're going to do.
Yeah. So I was going to put myself through ASU. My first year, my parents put me up, and I got straight C's. I didn't study at all, and they're like, "Yeah, we're not going to pay for college if you're going to get C's." Doesn't make sense. So you're on your own. So I'm like, okay. So I had to get a job. So I got a job, and then I wound up going to Dimension Cable at the time, which got bought out by Cox Communications.
Mm-hmm.
And I started knocking doors and selling cable door to door. And that put me through college until my senior year. I think I had 13 credits left to graduate. I had gone to the first real estate in business. I didn't know what I wanted to be, and then all of a sudden real estate came up as a major.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to join that one, and I loved it.
Yeah,
absolutely loved it. And during that time, interest rates started dropping. So my buddy Kevin, he decided to move from cable he had graduated at NAU, and he went over and became a loan officer. He worked for a company called Venture Financial. And rates had just come down, and he did the same thing he was doing with cable, just knocking door to door and saying, "Hey, I can save you a bunch of money. Interest rates have come down." And he showed me a check for $27,000 for a 2-week paycheck. Wow. And my check was substantially less than that, let's say, in the hundreds. And I'm like, man, oh man. He's like, "Doug, it's the same thing." And I'm like, okay. I'll quit my job. So I quit my job, and
this is a Wolf of Wall Street moment when they're sitting in the cafe.
Show me
a check for $85,000, whatever it is, and I will quit my fucking job right now. There's Doug. Show me the money.
Literally happened in real life to
and
Doug.
Here's Doug. I love
that. So that's how you got in real estate. Someone literally showed you a check.
The day I started as a loan officer, interest rates skyrocketed.
Right.
And that was the end of refinances.
Right.
Oof.
So I got on the tail end. Life is all about timing, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I wound up, I said, okay, well, you're going to have to go, instead of knocking on doors, you're going to knock on all the real estate companies and try to get them to use you. I didn't know a thing about loans. I was trying to, I was buying bagels for people, trying to get in the door, like, "Hey, can I come to your meetings?" I got turned down so many times, and, got a couple of people that let me come in, and I was trying to sell this thing, I don't know. It was some sort of loan program that helped fix up houses and whatnot. I knew nothing about it. I was trying to BS my way through it, and they could see right through it. And I was just horrible. And I wound up meeting a couple, and they said, "You know what, Doug? I'd like to talk to you. Can we go to breakfast next week?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I went to breakfast. Now, mind you, if you're a loan officer, it's not a paying job. It's commission only.
Yeah.
Well, I burned through every savings that I had, and I was actually selling off baseball cards to pay rent, and I had a car payment as well, and I had a credit card with only a $500 limit, and I was down to my last, I think $10 was left on it, and we went to breakfast, and they said, "We want to hire you. We see something in you," and I'm like, "You know what? I've been trying this for 4 months. I haven't made a penny. They're telling me I can make 50% of a sale, and they're going to set me up on, all I have to do is go there on the weekends and do some open houses, and I get 50% of the commission." I'm like, that sounds pretty cool. Just, sit there, and I'm like, all right, let's do it. And they said, okay. So bill comes, and they're just looking at me, and I'm like, oh, I'm paying this, I guess. So
that's when you know you're effed. When you're like, I'm down to my last 10. Okay.
We went to a place, I remember, because this was 1994. it was $9 and change.
Wow.
And I'm like, if I tip this lady,
You're done. You're over. That's so funny.
So Bob, one of the guys goes, hey, you got that? All right, I'll get the tip.
You're
And
like,
I'm
thank God.
Oh my gosh.
That's insane. You're running on fumes, baby.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
can't remember
God.
the name of the place, but it was only like the $3. They had a special for like a $3 breakfast or
Wow.
something like that.
Wow.
But then, so I went there, and my first month, it was a long story about. I could tell you the first couple of weeks of that, but I don't want to get too off on that story. But I wound up selling 4 houses my first month, and it was on.
Wow.
I just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
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 So you got your license effectively or no?
Yeah, I got my license.
Okay.
So I went and took the 3 weeks. I took
Got
the
it.
3-week crash
Yep.
course and got my license. And then I didn't realize that after you get your license, and you had MLS fees and dues and board fees and all that stuff. And I went, I don't have it. Like, I don't have it. And so thankfully the people that hired me, they said they give me a draw.
Got it.
And so they paid for everything, and I paid them out of my first escrow. So
Amazing.
yeah, it was a scary time. It was a really, really scary time. I had absolutely nothing. My parents didn't have it. Like I had borrowed from, they were broke.
But you had great skills. So going back to like, I always like to say you got to get uncomfortable to get comfortable.
Yeah.
I can vision you in that cafeteria. Hey, I'm Doug. I'm new here. I'm from New York. I don't know anybody. Then you're going door to door, which is a scary thing for a lot of people. Knocking doors. So you've honed the skills. So I'm sure they saw kind of that, innate ability in you to perform. They see what everyone else sees in you. Typically, you don't see that in your own self.
No.
And they said, we want you. So you go out, you get your license, you sell some houses. So then what transpires? You're getting the brokerage side down, and you're like, this is great money.
Yeah. So, I worked at a really good company with a lot of really good agents. And I think, in real estate now, especially just regular real estate agents, a lot of them don't work in an office anymore. A lot of them just work from home.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you lose so much doing that.
Yeah.
You lose the camaraderie. You lose being around people that are doing it and hearing the stories and getting ideas from other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really missing. And I think that the real estate world is especially realtors are really paying the price for that. And I think that's why the few, probably 10% of the realtors are doing 90% of the business.
The ones that answer the phone.
Oh,
Right.
that
Literally,
was the key.
it's
That was the
insane.
number
Yeah.
one, the number one thing. So I'll even go back to being a realtor. So this is the mid '90s,
Yeah.
and I could barely afford anything. So there was it was right. Internet was not a thing yet, and phone calls were coming into were still coming into the office. It was more office based, and so I ran an ad in a little magazine called Homes Illustrated.
Yeah.
And I got the cheapest thing possible, which was, in the middle back of the book. And I didn't have any listings at the time. So I just took pictures of other people's listings and new houses and just came up with stuff. And I would sit in my office from 8 till 6 every day, including on the weekends, waiting for the phone to ring.
Wow.
And so I would play video games at my office. So all the people in my office would sit down, walk by the window, or I'd have my door open. They'd see me playing video games. And then we had a board out there, and I'd have 4 or 6 deals for the month. And they'd be like, how gets a video game guy? How is he getting 4 or 6? Because I was there when the phone rang.
Right.
Yeah.
I knew I was in the middle of the book. And I also knew that most realtors don't answer their phone.
Yeah.
And so I was probably the 6th or 10th call that those people had made when they went going through and like, oh, that house looks good. That one looks like, look at this principal and interest payment. Oh, okay, let me call this guy. And oh my gosh, I got somebody on the phone. And then I would try to get them in my car immediately.
Yeah.
As soon as I can get them in my car and go around showing them houses, I'm like, come meet me at the office right now.
Yep.
We'll go we'll look here on the computer together. Cause again, that was before you can see anything on Zillow or anything or anywhere else. And we'd sit down together and say, okay, this one looks good. What are you looking for? Blah, blah, blah. And then this one looks good. This one looks good. Okay, I'll call them up right now. Let's go see them. As soon as I got them in the car, I knew 9 times out of 10, I was selling them a house.
Yeah.
They were going to use me. And it was because of one reason. I answered my phone and I was accountable.
Yep.
And so many people don't do that or hide behind it. People always ask me, why don't you just text me? Why do you always call me?
Yeah.
I'm like, because I'm old school. I like calling people. I like
Yep.
talking to people. I don't like texting. Like I'd rather just pick up the phone and talk to you.
Totally.
I don't FaceTime like this guy does every time, but I do call.
Hey, you're old school. I'm new school. But we do business similar.
Yeah,
have a hybrid
we're
approach.
FaceTime guys.
Right, Dinosaur Doug, and then
I don't answer my
FaceTime
phone
all
sometimes when you call.
do.
Oh,
You
but
FaceTime.
sometimes I won't answer the call because I'll be in a compromising position. I'm
There
like,
you go. But in fairness, but Doug and I have something in common, which he doesn't talk about. We're vulnerable. We're both making love, to our separate people. He takes the calls as well. I mean, timing is everything. He's not going to miss a lead. Neither am I. Babe, hold on a sec. I just need about 2 seconds, and I'm done anyways, and then we'll get this going.
I get in trouble for that. I'm sure you do too. So.
Of course. Yeah. That's so funny. But one thing that we love about this podcast is just like people have the ability to connect with us and see like, oh, now they just see Doug on TV. Doug makes money because he spends hundreds of thousands or millions a month in advertising.
Show.
But they don't know that, again, going back to you're back to the basics guy. You take all the calls. You're showing up to appointments. People don't see behind the scenes, behind the screen, behind all these big numbers as somebody that works his ass off. You said you were there from 8 to 6, 7 days a week, ready to go and execute. Timing is everything. Answering the phone, it's not that complicated. There's no secret sauce in real estate.
No.
It's just
no
the basics.
secret playbook. It goes into the basics.
It's time and effort and doing things that others won't.
There you go. Time and effort and doing things others won't.
So how did you transition from being an agent to an investor? Was it just that you like, what is your first deal? How did you come across your first deal?
So I met an investor, and he wanted to buy houses that had a little bit of equity in them. And so I started getting into VA repos and HUD foreclosures.
Yeah.
What year is this ballpark?
Early
2000s?
90, 97, 98, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And I realized, and I would also scour the MLS as well. This is before we had all the stuff that could scour it in real time, like and so I found out that I was really good at that. Again, doing things that other people won't.
Yep.
There was a lot of people that didn't know how to do HUD foreclosures or VA foreclosures, so they never tried.
Right.
Never even did it. A lot of times we bought it, nobody else even bid on it.
Zero competition.
Zero competition. We're getting great deals. And you had to figure out, and they would come out with a certain number, and I figured out the formula of what they would sell them at.
Remember that. Yeah, there was a base minimum.
Yeah, they would, and so you could go down and go like, okay, it's not a deal at this number where they're listing it at,
Right.
but they'll take this number.
Right.
And so knowing that, I was able to get a lot of really good deals, and I figured all that out.
There's also a lot of deed restrictions on those too, I think, from the HUDs, right? You had to hold them for a certain period of time and seasoning.
Not at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, not at that time.
They imposed those restrictions later
Got it.
to mitigate investors from buying those assets.
Yeah, well, the thing that was great about the VAs was they came with their own financing.
That's the best.
And it was no qualifying.
Right.
And it was a lower interest rate. So it was zero down too, I believe. Yeah, it was crazy. It was so good. So we bought a bunch of those, and then one day, my parents they had a big client that came down and bought a bunch of stuff from them. They said they're going to move to they wanted to move to Tempe, and so they're like, oh, my son's a realtor, he can help you. And so I got their number and I called them, and they're like, yeah, this is what we're looking for. And I went out and showed them a house, and went out for the weekend, and they found a house that they loved, and it was like a horse property out in South Tempe, and this was 1999, and they bought it for $1,150,000.
That must have been one of the nicest houses in Arizona at the time.
It was insane.
Yeah.
It was really, really nice. And so I got my $33,000 commission. I think it was $33,500 is what I got. And I just gotten married and just built a house. And I couldn't afford. I was so scared. I bought my house. It was the base price was $192,000. It was a 5-bedroom, 4-bath, 3,460 square foot home.
You built a monster, just you and the wife?
It was just me and her, and the reason I did that is because I knew I wanted to start a family. We wanted to start a family real fast,
Yeah.
and I didn't want my kids to have to move
Got it.
because of what I went through.
Yeah.
So I bought a big house, and I'm like, we're here for 18 years,
Wow.
Yeah.
or however long until the last one goes out to college. because I did not want to do the same thing to my kids that happened to me.
Yeah.
And so that's why I did that. But I couldn't afford anything. So it was a brand new house that I bought. It was a Shea home. And base price was $192. And my final sales price was $196 and change.
You're like, no upgrades.
Zero.
You're like, don't even put in the floors.
Zero. Literally.
Totally,
like whatever it comes
you.
with. They're like, well, what do you're going to have to upgrade this. I'm like, nope, no. Just leave it.
It's so funny.
Except this is what I want. I want you to stub out a sink and drain in this spot right here.
Yeah.
And they're like, why?
For your bar.
I said, I'm building a bar.
I knew it. Yeah.
I couldn't afford to build the bar yet.
That's so
funny.
I
wanted
so
now.
smart.
Thinking ahead.
So smart. Okay.
So when I got that check, first thing I did was go call a contractor and said, I'm building that bar.
Must have been a sick bar.
And so I called him up, and I'm like, I want to, like my buddy has this bar that's really cool. So I called my buddy. He goes, well, let me see pictures of it. I said, let me call my buddy. I said, hey, do you mind if I come over tomorrow and take pictures of your bar? He's like, yeah. He's like, I was like, all right, I'll be there about noon or so. He's like, no, I'm going down to the courthouse steps. I'm going to go, bid on some houses down there. Courthouse steps? You're going to do foreclosure? I go, I thought it was like the mafia down there. They won't let you in. He's like, oh, no, I've been going down for a while. I buy one here and there. They let me have one.
Who was the guy?
His name was Jeff. You don't know him. He doesn't go down there anymore. And so I'm like, hey, I've always wondered about that. I'm buying these other foreclosures here, but I'd love to see them before they even get there, to the courthouse steps. He's like, yeah, come on down. Meet me at 8 o'clock. We'll have some coffee and we'll head down there. And so we went to, I think it was Tiffany and Bosco or one of the law firms down there. And there was a house that was going, and I knew it was on Revere Street. It was over off of Extension and Broadway in Mesa. And I knew the area because I had a client looking for houses over there. And so this house was going, and I'm like, oh, this was like, I don't know, 1,700 square feet and 3.2. It was worth about $135,000, $140,000 at the time. And that house went for I think it was $67,000.
Wow, light bulb went off in your mind.
And I said, are you kidding me? That house? I'm like, holy, because Jeff knew everything that was going, so we had the sheets and everything. I'm like, I can't believe that. And so it was a guy who won it. His name was Ray Wisely. He's not with us anymore. I bought a lot of houses from him, but I went up to Ray. I go, Ray, how you doing? My name's Doug. Are you going to be selling that house? What are you going to do with that house? He goes, who the hell are you, and why are you asking me that question? Literally like that. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, my name's Doug. He's like, who are you with? Did you just bid me up on this? I'm like, no, I didn't bid you up. First time I've ever been here. I was just watching.
Yeah.
He's like, well, who are you with? I said, Jeff. He's like, all right. Well, he's all right. He goes, well, what are you asking me? I said, well, what are you going to do with that house? He's like, I'm going to sell it. I'm like, oh, how much are you going to sell it for? He goes, you're going to sell it for $10,000 over. If you want, it's $10,000 over. So $77,000. Okay. I was like, I'll take it. I'll write up an offer. I'll get it to you, this afternoon and close in 30 days. He's like, no. He goes, if you want this, it's cash, close tomorrow.
Right.
And I'm like, nah, I don't have.
You just got your 30-some thousand in your commission. You got to pay taxes on it. You got to pay your car, the house.
I'm like, no, I don't have that kind of money. He goes, oh well, we'll go down and get hard money. I'm like, okay. What's hard money? He's like, there's this guy. Here's his name. His name is Scott Gould.
Of course. Yeah.
He goes, call this guy. So I call Scott. Scott goes, yeah, come on over. So I go over. I meet Scott. Scott's like, yeah, this looks like a good deal. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'll loan on it. I'm like, all right, great. He's like, yep, I want 20% down and 18% interest. And I think it was an $800 fee. I'm like, okay, so 77 times 20%.
15K plus
like,
your thing.
Like, oh man, I just got this money. I don't want to do that. I'm like, man, I don't have the 15K. He goes, all right, well, that's fine. Just wholesale it then. Okay. What's wholesale it mean? Right. Swear to God.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, you just find somebody who wants to buy it. Your price is $77,000. You put another price on it. I'll do the loan on it. If you can find somebody to buy it that has down payment money, you get the middle. So I'm driving away
Mine's
from
blown
there.
again now. And
This is
24
insane
hour
from the
period,
bar.
Like
The
when people
serendipity.
realize what you can do with real estate, it's
Right.
like, wait, I can use other people's money. Wait, I can do assignment of contract. Wait, like,
It was incredible. A light bulb went off in my head, and you ever know about, you see that light bulb with all the cartoons and everything else, and
Sure.
I swear that's probably one of the only times in my life that happened, where my life just changed. I called my father from the car with a big box phone. Remember the big box, like the suitcase box cell phones before the iPhones?
You had to plug them in with the charger in the car. I know. Yeah.
So I called my dad on the way home. I said, Dad, my life just changed. And he's like, you're insane, son. I tell him the whole story. He's like, you're insane. I don't know. Just stay what you're doing. Right. You're doing fine. Just stay with. Yeah. I'm like, no, Dad. This is something my life just changed.
Yeah.
And so I called everybody I knew, and I knew a buddy of mine that worked for a bank. He was like a vice president of a bank. He was a little older than me. His name was Clint Anderson, and he's like, all right. So they had gotten the house rekeyed. So I said, meet me over at this house on Revere. So we went in there, got in, he walked it. He goes, how much again? I go, 81,000.
Right.
He's like, yeah. He goes, and this is the financing? So he calls up. We go down to Scott's office. Scott signs him right there on the spot. He leaves, and Scott signs a check for $4,000 and gives it to me. I walked home with that $4,000, and I'm like, oh, man.
Is the adrenaline just crazy?
Oh, it was incredible.
Yeah.
It was incredible. So I go down to Ray. I went down, and I'm like, what else you got?
Right.
What can I do for you?
Right.
I wound up driving houses for them every single day for free. Driving and comping. Every single house in the East Valley that was going every day for foreclosure. I would drive, comp them, and then I would go down to the auctions to see what they would get, and then ask them a price on the spot. So I'd be the first one to be able to get the price.
Love it.
So I could go and sell them. I wound up selling thousands of houses for those guys.
Amazing.
Wow. Yep.
So smart.
Yep.
By the way, I'm a huge advocate for having your license, in terms of the game period. Do you agree with the mentality for our listeners to get licensed as well, to have access to data, to have multiple aspects in terms of exit strategies, and how has that made an impact in terms of your success?
So for me, it works, yes. It's a blessing and a curse at the same time. I just got hit for, we sent out some mailers. We had a logo that it was just a partial logo. It was the corporate logo. So I work at a place called My Home Group. And it was just the MY logo. That was the corporate logo. Instead of the whole My Home Group logo. And some yahoo sent it into the department. That was another realtor and said, this is illegal. I got fined $800 and have to take 9 extra credits.
Wow.
There's guys out there that are not licensed, right?
Yeah.
That are doing the shadiest of shady stuff. And you get
He's nemesis.
He's nemesis.
So they're doing shady stuff and getting away with everything, right? And there's no department to oversee this. There's no, but on the other hand, so you have those nuisances, right?
Sure.
But at the same token, when we have leads come in, if we can't buy that lead, we can go ahead and try to get the listing for it, and we can also sell them other houses after we buy their house or we list their house, so we're able to monetize each lead a lot better and have that extra income coming in, and just having MLS access and just being knowledgeable in the business. And I actually have an office out in the East Valley that, we have a bunch of people and a lot of people that actually do what I do and buy and fix and flip that are in our office every single day, and regular realtors and I get to hear, what they're seeing as long as what we're seeing. And, we talk about stuff, and not being in a real estate office helps me so much. Keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on, not only with sellers, but with the market, if it's going up, if it's going down, if you're having problems selling, if certain areas are having problems selling, and you get to hear all the different stories and takeaways. So I think for me, it's very much a positive. And I think I've been able to monetize that very well over the years.
And think about this too. I mean, your down payment money, or if you were going to actually close on some of those foreclosures, your $33,000 commission on that $1,000,001 home, plus just being out in the market and engaging with people and the synergies and the camaraderie and all the stuff that you've created has been massive for you.
Sure. Also, with a lot of the investors that I sell them houses, we're able to list a lot of those as well.
There you go.
And we listed at 1% or a discount.
That's all
commission.
ancillary great income.
Exactly. It all adds up.
There you go.
It all adds up.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go out and all of a sudden you're addicted and you end up buying thousands of the auctions, properties from the foreclosures. And then what transpires? I know that you could talk about your portfolio, and so then what transpires from there? Because you all of a sudden you're on TV, you got all this stuff going on.
Can I ask you how many properties do you have right now?
So that I have about 70 or so, 70 rentals.
Or so.
Yeah.
How many? Do you have a number of like how many deals you think you've done over your career?
It's an estimate of a little over, probably somewhere between 22 and 23,000.
22 to 23,000 properties. That is insane.
It's insane, but it's all real. Like, this guy's as legit as it comes.
Wow. Okay. Sorry. Going back to your question.
No, I love the progression and the transition. It's so
'cause
funny.
like-
So first it's like, hey, come have breakfast. He's got $9. It's so, like, I remember it, $9.10. I can't even have enough for the tip. To then all of a sudden he goes out, he gets a couple, commissions, then a big sell, and then serendipitously the bar leads to the foreclosure, and the foreclosure to the hard money to the wholesale, and then the auctions. It's just a crazy, but it's an insane story. So then you're like, okay, I'm mastered these thousands of homes and, taking these wholesale commissions, and then talk about what transpires from there.
So I wound up going off on my own and creating one of the biggest bidding platforms at the auctions.
Got it.
During the craziest time.
A bidding platform.
Yeah. So basically, people would, when you were going down to the auctions, there was probably a group of about 5 people that would buy these houses. And when we started doing it ourselves, nobody wanted us to get in, so everyone's protecting their turf and bidding us up on every deal, and we just had to stick to it. And what I got scared about was, hey, they're bidding us up so high, I don't want to have to take these down myself and risk not being able to sell them. So what I did was I changed the world of wholesaling at the time, and people were not happy about it. I started a bidding service, and I said it's going to be a flat fee. So I started taking the information and sending it out to the masses of the people that were really buying the houses, not the guys that were just working to buy them at the auction.
And they would put their bids in.
And so they would put their bids in, so I know what the high bid was. And so whoever was the high bid got that number, and we did it for a flat fee of $3,000. And so a lot of times when you're buying a house, you're paying these guys $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 over what the bid was. And because a lot of times those guys were trading money down at the courthouse steps. Yeah. And so they're like, don't bid on this, I'll give you $5,000. Don't bid on this, I'll give you $2,000.
This eliminates all of that.
They were colluding down there, and I didn't feel like going to jail. I'm like, if the FBI ever comes down here and they'll throw people in jail, so I'm going to come up with a flat bidding fee, and I'm not colluding with anybody. And so that's what I did. And so, word gets around. Real estate's a small, it's a small world in here.
Sure is.
I mean, within a year, I was the biggest buyer of trustee sales down at the courthouse steps. Right. And instead of making these $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 rips, I was just making $3,000, but I was buying
huge volume and buying every deal.
One day I bought 38 properties.
That's
holy
insane.
moly!
38 properties. We had to borrow $10,000 checks from all the other bidders and had to pay them just to be able to keep on bidding because we ran out of money.
That's insane. Wow. That's great.
Yeah. So that happened quite a few times.
Yeah.
And then the copycats came in and we started losing down. It was what I didn't realize is that it was really frustrating if, somebody bid $150,000 on a house and somebody else was at 147, the 150 got it. But if that house sold for $85,000, that guy at 147 is really pissed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's like, what do you mean? He got it for this price? I was going to this price? So that created some animosity, but I kept telling him, there's power within the people, And if you go on to the other thing, then everyone's going to lose money. So then what people start doing is like, well, I'm just going to bid what the house is worth then. So the house is worth 150. You know, the things open up at $50,000. It should go for around 80 or whatever. Someone bid 150 because they knew it was going to sell much less, and there was not much risk because we had all the buyers on our side. So then you know, when other people came around, they're like, well, I'm going to go a bid, because they get really pissed off because they missed out on a deal that they saw somebody else get, that they were bidding 147 on, that somebody else get for 85, and like, well, I'm going to go and I'm just going to bid for myself then, because this is BS too. So it was there was pluses and minuses, but it worked for a long period of time until it dried out. But yeah, it was a fun, crazy time. I wish I could go back to those days and buy a lot more and just held on to them. I did do a pretty good. I mean, most of my stuff is from that period of time that I bought and hold. And I'm
so early 2000s.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably 10x'd all of your acquisitions in terms of, you know, value.
Yeah, it was well, not early 2000s. It was what, 2009, 10, 11.
What a great time to buy.
Yeah.
Do you have leverage on your portfolio?
No, I don't know a penny.
You own your entire homes free and clear.
That's correct.
All free
That
and
is
clear.
amazing.
Wow. Okay, so I want to dive into that. I mean, why not throw some leverage on them and grow faster?
So,
or you don't need to. I mean, you're already doing.
No, I had leverage on them.
Yeah.
And I put them all on 15-year notes.
Okay.
When I bought them, and
were these still cash flowing with 15-year notes?
Yeah.
Wow. So you bought them pretty deep.
Yeah.
Really do. I bet your average basis on those is probably 60, 70,000.
Yeah, probably.
And then how did you decide, because you're in the mix every day, why did you cherry pick some deals and not others? Why did you, what were you looking for at the time for your rentals, and how are those performing today?
I still own most of the ones that I had. I've sold off some of the problem ones or the older ones, and I've done some 1031 exchanges with some newer stuff that I buy now.
Yep.
I've been trying to get rid of some of my, I was lucky enough to buy a bunch of condos at $20,000, $10,000, $12,000, that are worth, $250,000 to $350,000 right now, and so I'll take those because they have big HOA fees on them.
Yeah.
And I'll switch it into a newer tile stucco
For sure.
house out in the East Valley, and it'll cash flow a lot better.
And 1031 exchange, so there's no taxation.
Exactly.
Just for the viewers, just to give you perspective, Doug is not sitting on a pillow. He's sitting on his cash flow. All right, he just brought this suitcase. He's sitting on the cash flow. Just that pillow is there is just actually cash that he brought in.
Wow.
So there you go.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
No, so I think a lot of that too. There was a time that when I was younger that my parents were close to losing their house.
Yeah.
And I had to sell. They got ripped off royally by some guys in New York, and it cost them pretty much their life savings. And so a bunch of bonds that I got when I was born, I had to sell so that they could make the payment for the mortgage. And I also sold baseball cards to help them make the payments for the mortgage.
Wow.
So I hated leverage. I hated knowing that a bank or somebody could come and take something from me. So my whole goal in life was to pay down those as fast as I can, and get and have as little money owed as possible. I've hadn't had debt in I don't know how long.
You just don't like that.
I don't like that.
That psychological risk factor. You just want to just not even deal with it.
No.
Do you loan hard money, by the way?
I do.
What are that's interesting. Only in Arizona or other markets?
Yeah, just in Arizona.
What are your rates?
12%.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Makes good sense.
Just on
points
houses that I
or
sell. Nope.
Just 12% flat.
That's it.
Wow. If you're in and out, that's a good deal.
Yeah, and only on the houses that I buy and sell because I know them.
There's no risk. You already know your basis.
You already
and
know
you get
the
the down
numbers are
payment.
good.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
super
brilliant.
smart.
Give them the deal and the money.
Yeah, I've just done it just as a favor to people. I'm not looking to do that for a big business or anything. Just help people out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I hate debt.
But it worked for you because obviously you have the 70 houses, so you utilize debt with the strategy of 15 years. You're going to own them free and clear. To be clear, you didn't pay cash for all these things.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
What were the rates on that at the time? Roughly 7-8%. Okay,
Yeah,
so 9%.
you got the investor rate, so it was 7 or 8% at the
Yep.
time, but you got a higher rate, so it was probably about the 9% rate.
But you still cash flowed on it, and of course you had great equity.
My whole thing was just break even.
There you go.
Right?
Smart.
So if,
Delayed gratification with a good exit of playing the
Talk
long
about that
game.
a lot.
I love that. Yeah. Beautiful.
and so what was great was I was throwing $100 or $200 extra on the houses because I wanted to pay them off early, you know. And so my accountant says, "What are you doing this for?" I'm like, "Well, I'm going to pay them down early." He's like, "Well, why are you doing it on all of them? Do it on one, because whatever you were going to do on all those. So if you're going to pay an extra $3,000, say, just put the $3,000 on one, the one with the least amount of the least amount loan amount." So I had one that was like $50,000 left on it. So I took the $3,000 and I started just putting that on that one, and then I paid that one off. And that rent was, that payment was, I don't know, like $700.
And for people, can you explain why that's beneficial to just pay down one at a time versus?
Yeah. So it's a snowball effect.
Yeah.
Once I started doing that and getting, so the payment on that was like 600 and something bucks or whatever. My whole thing was I was going to take whatever all the payments equaled, I was going to add $3,000 to that and pay it down.
Mm-hmm.
So I put the $3,000 on that first one and paid it down. Once that got paid off, there was an extra
8,400.
No,
700 a month.
$700 a month.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I put that down on the next one,
Mm-hmm.
and then that one got down, and so it was a snowball effect. It took a while to get the first 2, 3 going, but then after that, all of a sudden you're putting 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, and then boom, next thing you know, I couldn't believe it. It was like within 5 years, everything was paid off, and I'm like,
wow.
I thought this was going to be like a 10-year, 15-year plan, and it was like, I think it was less than 5 years.
So what do you deploy now? Obviously, all these unencumbered and 70 homes, average rent's $2,000, $140,000 a month, roughly 1.8. What do you do with all that cash now? Do you put it into your business? What do you invest in?
Yeah. So the first thing I did once because I was so focused on that, I'm like, I turned to Ron and I go, I don't know what to do anymore. Like, where do we put this money? And he's like, well, what would you like to do, Doug? He's like, and I'm like, I'd like to pay off my parents' house.
Beautiful.
And so he's like, okay. He goes, so I'm going to set this account. So we're going to send all the rents are going to stay in this account until you have enough to pay off their house.
Wow.
They had like 200 and something. They had refinanced it like 7, 8 times, And
did they know you were doing that, or was it a surprise?
So my mom called me up and she's like, hey, I'm thinking about refinancing again. And the rates came down. I said, that's great, Mom. I go, I think I have the plan for you. I go, send me over all your information and let me look into it and I'll get you a good rate. She's like, okay. So she sent me all the information. I got it, paid it off. I asked her to go to dinner, her and my dad. And so we went to some Korean barbecue place that they loved. And we sat down and I presented them the deed to their house. And I said, I've never seen my dad cry before.
He cried.
He cried.
That's what did your mom say?
My mom, they were both crying. It was they couldn't believe it. It was I'm going to get emotional
was that
just
one of
talking
the
about
greatest
it,
day of
it was
your life?
it was one of the best moments of my life.
Good for you. What a great son.
What an incredible story. From selling baseball cards to help make the mortgage payment to just paying it right off.
It's amazing.
That's incredible. That's what I love about this industry, like real estate. Like if delayed gratification. If you just heads down, just doing good business, doing good deals, day in, day out, deal by
Doug
deal.
embodies all of those characteristics. You see, right? Living proof. How influential were your parents in terms of support? I know that they had their auction business. Sounded like it wasn't super successful.
No.
But how about that, like the New York mentality, coming to Arizona, which is a slower place market, and the support of your parents? How did that come into your success?
So, my parents have been married 56 years as of last week. They're 80 years old, still go to work every day.
Wow.
Still have their antique store.
Mm-hmm. What's it called?
Beyond Expression Antiques.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is that up in Westchester?
No, it's here in Mesa.
Oh, it's here in Mesa. Yeah. Okay, shout out, guys. Go check it out.
Yeah.
We'll drop the address below. Let's go support
Mention
some
Dog. It's
business.
only 110%.
Yeah.
So
So no, they're great people. And then, but my dad, going to work every day, I'm like, Dad, why don't you sell the store? He's like, what am I going to do then, Doug? I've been doing this my whole life. And I feel the same exact way about real estate. What am I going to do? I went for 3 weeks, right? For 3 weeks, I'm like, I'm going to let everybody else, I'm probably getting in the way of my business. I'm going to let other people go on appointments. I'm going to sit back, be the CEO, so after 3 weeks, I was bored out of my mind. I mean, you can only sit down and look at numbers for so long until you're like, That's why I have no hair on the top of my head. So I wound up coming back in and saying, listen, I'm back. You guys going to the west side. I'm back doing the east side. I love it. And I think a lot of people make mistakes. A lot of beginning investors or people that are starting a company to go out and do this, buy, fix, flip, do whatever, in this business. They're looking too hard to get out of the business. And they hear all that stuff. Hey, you don't want to work in your business, you want to work for your, or you don't want to work for your business. You want to work on your business and everything else. And I think that's BS.
Yeah.
I think if you're just making this so that you can walk away, eventually somebody's going to come in and take what you're going to take, and you're going to have resentment all over the place of people going, well, we're doing all the work, and this guy's out jolly, he's all over Instagram, all over the world on his jets and everything else, and we're the ones making the money. And what is he doing? You're going to get
walks out on you.
You're going to get 100%.
We had Sean was on a couple of weeks ago. He was talking about his entire team walk out on him twice. It's like literally some of these guys brought appliances and and he came home from lunch one day and that his team's walking out with the refrigerator and the microwave. He's like, come back guys.
Yeah.
And that happened to him not just once but twice.
I just, and I've made that mistake before. I was doing that back in the bidding service days. I was out playing golf every day, everybody, and resentment works in. So I'm in there showing my face every single day. Everybody knows I can be out doing whatever the hell I want, and yet I'm sitting there every single day helping them, active in it. And I'm still the best closer on the team.
You're setting the tone. Say it again. You're what?
I'm still the best closer on the team.
That goes out to your team.
Yep.
But you're setting the
Even
tone.
Even Josh, you could tell him
there
that.
I'm going to tell him. Shout out to Josh, too. He's one of your partners,
awesome.
and I buy
a
large majority of that homes from him. He's an amazing guy. Talk about a guy who's no social media, super humble. We've asked him to be on this show. No, come speak at this event. Nope. The guy just wants to stay behind the scenes and buy deals.
You know what? That's who the best operators are. Like at Investorlift, I have the privilege of we have now 8,000 different wholesalers on the system. And so I see patterns over time, right? And the guys that you see at all the events aren't the big guys. The really big guys are guys like Doug and Zach. They're just out there in the field looking at houses every day. You guys are your guys' personality type are the ones that actually really are doing the biggest numbers.
So interesting. So I got my $10 million question for you. I'm sitting there walking my dogs this morning, and I know you very well. We've traveled to Costa Rica. We've done zillions of dollars in business together. My main question for you, and the devil advocate question is, why wholesale? You've got all the capital now. You know everybody in town. Why not digest more of these deals and do the fix and flips yourself?
So I do that. We do, but
more. Like,
what
if you sell
percentage
to me,
do you?
let's
like.
talk
Are you
about.
Are you buying any for rentals right now? What percentage are you doing fix and flip? What percentage is wholesale?
I do buy them buy rentals as well.
Okay.
I try to add 2 to 3 a month, or not a month, a year, to my portfolio.
So very selective.
Yeah, just they have to fit and a lot of times it's ones that I'm buying back from somebody, or they have tenants in them already, and I just keep them, and it's just easy. There was one that literally back to my office that a lady was in, and she had a lease for another. I'm like, perfect, I'll take it. So I do that. I probably do one fix and flip a month. I was doing, at one point I had 40 going at the same time.
Yeah, it's impossible to manage.
And it was. And it cost me $2 million.
Yeah,
because
at Express Home Buyers we got to 60, and we lost about $5 million that year.
Wow.
Yeah. So those are the bad times, and so.
But hold on, let's delve into that a little bit. You're doing 40. Why did you're obviously buying right. You're buying these wholesale. You guys get the best deals in town. How did you, because it was mismanagement, it was too much going on. It wasn't your core competency.
Too much going on.
So people were taking advantage of you, stealing from you.
We had to get all these new contractors because we had so many things, and they would take the money,
So why not dial it down and say, okay, instead of doing a couple a month, why not do 5 or 6 a month?
I decided to pick up the easy pennies instead of the hard dimes.
Got it.
Easy
And I
pennies
respect
instead of
that.
the hard dimes.
I
Yeah.
respect that. You have your core competency. I have mine because you can go in the numbers. Oh, Doug just sold Zach this. I try and make 10% of my money. I'm very clear about it. I'm trying to swing for triples. I bag a lot of deals because I'm not greedy and you're not greedy. And so it's a mutually beneficial situation. But if you could potentially, recapture that 10% that I make, you're making more money. But you're like, well, I can just focus on more advertising and more wholesales.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And when you're doing as many deals as we are, it's just hard to do that.
Yeah.
Got it.
And the scalability of that. I mean, there's a reason that Zillow's not doing this anymore. There's a reason
Right.
that Open Door has lost billions of dollars.
Sure.
Yeah.
That OfferPad is a penny stock now. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it was that easy, everybody'd be doing it,
Mhm.
and those companies would be worth a ton.
Yeah, there's nothing easy about this business.
No, and to scale it on
Right.
that kind of level
Right.
around the country,
Mhm.
good luck, man.
Good luck,
It's a tough thing to do. I mean, but these guys are bazillionaires, throwing money at this thing, losing money hand over fist.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a hard.
Yeah. Construction is almost because there's that human element.
Mhm.
Although I do think once the Tesla
Here it
robots
comes,
come
and we
out,
talked about
once we get the Tesla robots, you don't have to worry about the contractor slacking anymore.
There you
that
go.
robot's going all day long.
24/7.
I think that will make
Well,
house
interesting
flipping
to see.
scalable.
Well,
Flag this episode.
Yeah, give it 5 years.
And that may be true. The thing that I saw about some of these big investment buyers and that sort of thing is that they just didn't have the local knowledge.
Yeah.
I would see a house and go, "This is $60,000 remodel,"
Mm-hmm.
and they would see this house, and we'd be, they'd come in and go, "Okay, we'll buy this house at this number," and they're given a credit for repairs at $8,000,
Right.
and you're sitting there going,
Like, what did you smoke this morning?
"Yeah."
Right.
So I
Literally.
started selling to them.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you're gonna, so I'd make $100,000 spread on one that I bought, and they'd buy it, and I'm like, good luck with that.
Right.
There's no way you're gonna make money on that.
Correct.
They caught on pretty fast and stopped
course.
buying from me.
Of
But
course.
it's like, and that's why they lost all that money. Is that you have these guys, and they have these algorithms that are telling you what to buy it at and
Yeah.
how much you'll make, and they're just so off.
Yeah, because you can't see inside the house. Like, that's the biggest problem. That's why. So when I came into the industry, actually, the month I joined was the month that Open Door launched. I was like, this is really cool. But I knew they were going to run into this problem because they're top down. So they take all the Silicon Valley money, and when they want to launch in a city, they raise all this capital, they set up an office, they set up their team, they run all this marketing, but they're trying to do all this valuation like top down and all this buying top down. That doesn't work because you can't see inside. You need humans to look inside the houses. So that's why at Investorlift, we did the opposite. We went bottom up. I'm like, why don't I just create an operating system for all these guys that are actually going inside the houses that are local, that have local knowledge, can actually come up with the actual repair costs and then feed those top up. So decentralized instead of centralized. And I think that's why, we do 250% more volume every month than all the iBuyers combined. And it's because it's bottom up instead of top down. You need guys like you to make it happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. So I want to dive into what your operation looks like, because when people hear 135 deals a month, like most people, like we were just at Collective Genius last month, and we're at like the highest level where you got to be doing 100 deals a year to get in. Just so many people are like, oh my God, I can't, like maybe in a few years I can get to 100 deals a year and I can get into that group. But you're doing over 100 in a month. What does that look like? What does your operation look like to be able to handle that kind of volume?
Well, it's 3 different companies, right? You have my company, which I own 100% of, which is DougHopkins.com here in Phoenix. Then I'm a 50% owner, myself and my partner Damon Lyons, who used to work for me here in Phoenix. And I'm like, hey, go over to. He moved his family over to LA, and on my request, and said, I know big things are going to happen here in LA. We need to be out in LA, and he took his family out there, and it's worked out tremendously. There was a lot of rough road there to begin with, and I sat there, and he was giving up. He was giving up, And I went out there and flew out there, and he's like, I'm going to move my family back, Doug. This isn't working. And I sat there passionately, with all the passion I could muster, and said, we need to be here. I know it. I know something big is going to happen here. I started crying. I believed it that
Wow.
strongly.
Why did you believe it that strongly?
I didn't. I just did. I just had a feeling that something big was going to happen. There was too much money, too much opportunity out that way.
Yeah.
And I knew we needed to be in LA. I just did. And there was no. I didn't have any concrete evidence. I didn't.
Yeah. Just gut feel.
I didn't. I just a gut feeling that we needed to be there. And within 3 months, we picked up one of the biggest buyers, Invitation Homes.
Yeah.
That
Huge
wound
buyer.
up buying, I don't know, thousands of houses from us.
I sold to them too.
Yeah.
Dollar cost average into the market, and they paid a lot. Yeah.
We became their buyer, their bidder at the courthouse steps,
Yeah.
and we wound up.
What year was it that you moved in? That was
2011.
2011. Okay, so you've been in Los Angeles for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were there when I was there. I was there. Well, I was there for 1 year in 2019, and then COVID hit, and I was like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They locked that city down too hard.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's been there for a while. So you got 2 different teams. One here. How many people do you have on your team here that
13
to generate
13.
85? 13 guys generate 85 deals.
Mhm.
Holy! And what is that? The breakdown of that 13, like acquisitions versus
So-
dispo, like.
So Josh and we're our own dispo guys. We go to every appointment for the buy side,
Yeah.
and we're our own dispo guys.
So you 2 are selling all those deals.
Yes.
You have no dispo managers.
No, we don't pay anything for dispo.
Holy! You're selling 85 deals this month.
Well, no. About 60 to 65 of those were purchases. The rest were listings.
Wow.
So the
That's
purchases
incredible.
wholesale 60 to 65.
Yes.
And the beauty about these guys, like they can leave the appointment in 3 minutes. The email, the beds, baths, the pics flows in, and they say, "Here's the price. Do you want it or not?" You know, it's not like there's no really negotiation.
Yeah, you just
right. Here's the
really
price.
easy.
It's too easy.
And so this is one of the reasons why I want to bring you on today too, is because as CEO of Investorlift, I always I push the narrative that okay, more buyers equals more money. Okay, if you have one house and you got one offer on it versus you got the same house and you got 5 offers on it,
That's true.
5 offers is going to make you more money
That's true.
all day long.
100%.
Okay. And that's what we've designed our system to do, is to go get you that 5 offers. And also not a lot of people, like if they're just getting started, like we were just talking to 18-year-old that sent you a deal before this.
Sure.
That guy doesn't have all the connections that you guys have.
No.
So it helps people build their Rolodex real quick. And then even if you have a really good Rolodex, you can expand beyond that to make more money per deal. When people come on, we survey them and they have to apply. And part of the application is we ask them, what's your average assignment fee? Typically, the answer is between $14,000 to $15,000 on average. And then so far in 2024, our average assignment fee nationwide is $28,000. So the guys, it's working. They're making twice as much money per deal. But even as CEO of Investorlift, even when I was in LA and I was doing deals, there were times where like I just needed a deal to sell, and I couldn't add the risk factor of someone, trying to get a hard money out loan on it. They need an appraisal and it doesn't appraise, or they don't get approved, and that deal falls out, and then I just lost my $60,000 assignment fee. Like I just couldn't risk it. So then I would go to a guy like a Doug or a Zach that I knew, like for sure, if he says yes means yes, the deal is going to close. So it sounds like you really operate in that camp. And can you share like your perspective on why you're so heavy on that? Because there is a perspective of let's try to juice every deal to the maximum market price of what the maximum market will allow, but there's costs to that. Explain how you think about it.
Got it. So I think I'm at where I'm at in my point of life. I don't have the energy I once did. I don't have the drive, if I'm being honest, that I once did. I think once
Not according to your girlfriend. She called me before. She said, "This guy needs to." Zach, when you see Doug, just tell him to slow down. I'm tired.
Down a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Still more than most.
Good.
But not as
Okay.
not as much as I did when I was younger. I'm not sleeping in the office like I used to. Let's put it that way.
There you go.
You're not sitting there from the phone from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. waiting for a call.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that anymore.
You've done it. You've already done it.
I've been there, done that, and it's gotten to me.
Yeah.
It's gotten me to where I'm at. I don't even know where I was going with that, but I don't work as hard as when I was younger and coming up, and I first got into the business. I remember passing by all the guys that I looked up to and that were the giants in the industry.
Yeah.
Giants in the foreclosure field, giants as a realtor. And over the years, I've passed them by, and some of them are not even in the business anymore.
Yeah.
Some of them got, they lost everything. Some of them just failed miserably. Some of them went and retired. And I felt like I was getting complacent, and I was becoming the guy that was getting passed by. And that was about 2018.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, all these guys start showing up on my Instagram and Facebook accounts and everything else, and they're claiming to do just as many deals as I'm doing. And I'm like, how are they doing that? They don't have the budget that I'm doing. I'm on TV, and I'm doing this and that and the other. And I'm like, they're doing it a different way. And that's pretty amazing. And I think once you get to a certain level, you get very complacent. At least I do. I think it's human nature, but I've caught myself in it quite a bit, and I realized I was the one getting passed by.
Mm.
And so I went and I joined a mastermind group,
Collective Genius.
Selective Genius, and I went in and opened my kimono, and I'm like, here's my business, and they took me to town. I mean, they just went, you're doing what? I just been running a business the way I thought a business should be run, but I didn't have processes, procedures. I didn't even know what KPIs meant. I didn't know. They're talking about KPIs. What are your KPIs? I'm like, the hell, a KPI? What does that mean? I had no idea. I had no idea what they were even talking about.
Yeah.
I just knew I started the month with this amount of money. I ended the month with this amount of money. It's more than I started with, so we're good.
We're good.
That's it.
Right.
And you're like, well, what's your calls? How much?
Cost per lead, cost per deal, revenue per contract.
We had one intake guy that when a lead came in, we'd get to it the next day.
Mm.
It's
lead response time.
We had nothing. It was so bad. It was so, and we were successful despite ourselves.
Yeah.
And I see it now when I go around the country and I talk to a lot of people. A lot of the guys that are in CG were in the same boat, or currently are in the same boat as I was back in 2018. Where I didn't really. You think you're doing good because you're making money.
Yeah.
Imagine how much more money you could be making. And that's really when everything changed for me. I was set in 2018 too. I mean, I had done some really good things, and we're a successful business. Don't get me wrong. But we weren't a business. We were just, making money to spite ourselves.
More of a hustle.
Yeah, and so I've learned a lot in business and organization, in evaluating all the numbers and how important the data is for your business, which I took for granted. I didn't really care about because it was boring to me. I just wanted to be in living rooms getting deals. That's what I live for.
You're a closer.
I'm a deal junkie.
Yeah.
And I promise you, it doesn't matter to me if the rip is $2,500 or $25,000.
Yeah.
I just like getting the people to sign because I know I'm helping them.
Yeah.
And I know that they are going to be treated right, and I know they're not going to get screwed. There's so many people that do what we do that really screw sellers.
Yeah.
And I can't stand it.
Yeah.
And I think that's because of my longevity in the business. I don't do that, and that's why I've been doing this for 30 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I don't screw sellers. I don't lie to them. Of course I have to make money.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit there and give them a number knowing damn well I'm not going to pay that number and try to beat out the 6 other contracts that they have.
And then go drop it.
And then drop it at the last day.
Yeah.
When they go, and I think that is BS. I think it's a horrible way to do business.
Agree.
And I'll tell that to everybody that'll listen. So you should not do that.
Yeah.
It's just
I agree
a guy that I
100%.
don't like. We don't even have to say his last name.
There's people that teach that.
They teach you how to read. That's exactly what they do.
Retrade, renegotiate.
They teach you. You can go on the YouTube and watch the whole thing. And I think it's just a shady way to do business. And I don't.
And that's why they're trying to ban wholesaling. Is because
exactly they're the ones that give you the bad name.
Yeah.
That's why I put up $5,000 non-refundable earnest money. I will not change the price, and I will not. I don't have a inspection period.
Right.
I do 0-day inspection.
Sorry,
period.
you say 25,000?
No, 5.
Oh, 5,000.
I put up to 25,000.
That's still like that's a lot.
Yeah.
Some guys are doing 0 EMD or $1 or $100.
That's how you can qualify the difference between a real offer and some posturing.
5,000.
So this is the real number that's super important. Let's say you do 85 deals in Phoenix, and you said 20 or 25 are going to be retail deals. So those are out of your control in terms of closing, but you're going to give the best shot in terms of representation.
Sure.
But the 60 that you contract direct, other than seller default, you're closing 100% of those deals.
100%.
That is the most important factor to anybody. When you step in the door, number one, they see you, they know you're real because you're on TV. You've been doing this for so long. When you say we go to contract and I'm closing, you're closing. Unless they're fabricating something and they can't give you clear title, that's the number that counts. Versus you hear the fallout on Investorlift is what? 50%?
Off of Investorlift is 50%. If you're using Investorlift and you're using a good transaction coordinator, a good title company, the best in the country are around 20%.
There you go.
Because there's always title issues that are just too expensive to fix and stuff that pops up.
Right. 20% default, 80% closed.
80% closed, yeah.
So that's a great number. So going back, we've kind of diverted the question. Why sell to me, hypothetically, when you can go on Investorlift and get more money per deal? What is the benefit to you? And going back to your complacency.
A couple things. Number one, when crap hits the fan, which inevitably it always does.
Yep.
You know, if you're in this business long enough, I've seen every market possible. I think I have until maybe in the next 5 years something else happens. So, when crap hits a fan, you have people that you know that you're loyal to and that are loyal to you.
Yep. That
you can count on. That if you say, "Hey, Zach, I can't get stuck with this house. Buy this one. You can have it for par, and I'll get you on." The relationship, to me, life is also about relationships. It's not about money.
All about relationships.
It's not about money. And that's the problem with so many young wholesalers now, Danny. You think that money, that extra $10,000 is what's best for you right now, not realizing that relationship is worth way more than $10,000. And too many people don't see that.
Yeah.
And I can go right now and I can call Brian and Sergio or Robin Blake or Gus or whatever it may be to right now and say, "Hey, I need you to buy this one, take this one off my hands. I don't have the time to fix and flip it." You know, every one of them would say, "You got it, no problem. I don't like the deal, but I'll do it for you."
Yeah.
And you know, when it hit, you know, last June 2022 hit, and everything was going down, and it was going shoom. Nobody knew what to do, and everyone went on hold. But if there was a couple of times where I asked, you know, like, "Hey, take this one, I'll get you on the next one," and they did it because I was taking back a lot of houses. I closed on every damn one of them. Nice. I literally had a seller go, "You're not closing on this, are you?" I'm like, "Well, I told you it was a 6-month escrow because he was having a house built.
Yeah.
And if I didn't buy that house,
he ain't getting his.
He is not getting his new house." And he called me up a week before closing. He's like, "Just tell me now." And I'm like, "Tell you what." He's like, "You're not closing on this, are you?" So yeah, I gave you my word. I gave you my, you know, we shook hands in your living room, at your table. We're closing. He goes, "Why would you close on this? You're going to lose like $50,000. I said, "I have it at 35, but yeah, you're probably so."
That's so funny. Right. Because of reputation and relationships.
100%.
Yeah.
And he wrote me a great review and everything. He's like, "There's no way that this guy should have closed on this house," but he did.
That's huge.
And so, you know, there was a lot of houses I took big hits on, you know, when everything was going down, when everybody else in town, including all the big boys, were canceling left and right.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, which was the smart thing to do was to cancel.
I've never canceled a deal as well. And by the way, during that time, Josh, you guys called and said, "Hey, we had a bunch of fallouts because of COVID.
Yep.
if we add the earnest money that these people lost, will you take the deal? And I bought multiple deals from you during that time. And I go back on record and say, I'm buying. I bought all through COVID.
Yep.
Some of those deals are some of my best deals today.
Yep.
So in the face of adversity, in the face of hardship and volatility, you got to, look at the macro perspective versus the micro, you know? And you looked at the macro very well and said, I know I'm going to lose, but it's my long-term reputation. You lose 35 here, but you make 50 tomorrow. Yeah. It's a good deal.
Yeah. I didn't complain when those 6-month closings, when the deal went up $50,000.
Exactly.
And that was a long time of doing that, where we thought we were going to make it, $15,000 on the assignment. And I learned to not sell them until right about when they're going to close, because they were like, oh my gosh, I sold them. It's a 2-month close, and all of a sudden
that's the old lease purchase days. Like, I'm not lease purchasing this. I just lost $100,000 on every deal.
Yeah. But the relationships to me are more important than the money, and so that's why. Now, I think that Investorlift is fantastic for people that don't have the experience and don't know as many people that I do here in the Valley. I know when I call Zach or any of the guys that I mentioned, and there's a few more, literally after I hang up the phone, I don't even think about that house ever again.
Yeah, it's done.
It's done. I don't have to worry about where they're going to have the money at closing, if there's going to be hard money, I've never had a problem where it's like, oh man, the money's not there, or the title company's calling me up going, I can't get a hold of the buyer, or hey, there's something wrong with the wire didn't come through, or I don't.
Delaying closing.
Yeah.
The other thing that's very important that I want to highlight, that's super important for wholesalers, to ensure that those relationships, whether I'm buying it from Doug or some other great buyer who represents them to the highest level, because a lot of times after they sell you the deal, then we're in control at that point, right? Now it's my contract. I'm going to meet them. They'll coordinate the keys and facilitation, but it's really important that they also represent and reciprocate that
100%.
relationship and remember where it comes from. And I think that's so important if you're a buyer, to make sure that you give those people the highest level of praise. I'll interface with their sellers all the time. Hey, it was great working with you. We're a team. Make sure you write a review for Doug. By the way, and I do this all the time, if you have any other homes you want to sell, they don't call me. Make sure you call Josh and Doug. They know all the time. I say that they're procuring cause of that deal. There's been deals that I bought that they saw that I bought a wholesale deal, and they Googled me. And I said, well, how'd you get that deal? I said, I bought it from Doug and Josh. And I said, call them and I'll buy it from them. So it's so important to reciprocate. You remember, that's a large majority of where I get my food, and I say it all the time. Make sure that you represent those guys to the highest level, because that's your bread and butter. So if you were to sell hypothetically on Investorlift, there's no relationship there. They're not going to go and say, hey, then now they could cannibalize the deal in the future. Oh, your brother's selling, call me direct. I'll give you a better deal. And then it cuts out those relationships. But their longevity is my longevity too.
Absolutely.
Just playing devil's advocate.
One of the things that we're introducing here in the next 30 to 60 days is two-way reviews. You get out of Uber and ask you to 5-star.
Yeah.
We're going to introduce that because there are a lot of bad players. And I'm like, you know what? If we could just knock out all these bad players. Because if every time someone's screwing you on a deal or doing something shady, if all of us start 1-starring those guys, guess what? Their deal flow is going to evaporate.
Or could you, hypothetically, if there's enough bad reviews from somebody, take them off your site?
Yeah, we do that today. If you get 3 complaints, you're out.
Wow, good.
You're off the system.
Yeah.
And we've kicked out like over 100,000 people.
Holy shit, that's a lot.
The system just does it automatically. It's clearing out all the bad actors, and once they're out, they're out.
Wow.
But I love this. So I got to ask you one more thing, and then I know we want to do some deal or no deal.
And I got one more question for Doug as well. After that, we'll do the Jenga, whatever.
Yeah. Okay. 85 deals. That's got to be a lot of leads. How many leads does it take to get that many deals, and what does that marketing look like?
Marketing. So let me say this. It's really hard to get. It took me a long time. So every day we have, our leads are a little bit different than most because they're all inbound.
100% inbound.
100% inbound. We're not sending out text messages.
TV.
We don't have cold
Google
callers.
ads.
We don't have VAs. We're just doing, mailers. We send out mailers.
Yeah.
They call in or send in their web lead. We do PPC.
Yeah.
We do radio, and we do television. We're starting billboards. So we're adding that to it.
You gonna put that handsome face all over town?
Unfortunately, yeah. Unfortunately for the Valley, they're gonna have to see this ugly mug a little bit more than what they're used to seeing. It's hard to make this guy look good, that's for sure.
What's it gonna say? What are you? Now you look at it. What's gonna be your ads on the billboards?
It's just going to be my ugly face and saying, "I want to buy your house." You know, it's been my tagline for a long time, and a lot of people gone in and stole it from me and tried to copy it. And you're supposed to, what is it? Flattery, imitation is
The highest form of flattery.
Yeah.
Well, it just pisses me off. I don't care. It doesn't flatter me. It just pisses me off. So
There goes his complacency.
Yeah.
He's gonna get hungry. You start duplicating what Doug does. Look out, he's gonna eat you for lunch. Okay.
So, but yeah, I do a lot of
all inbound.
I do. It's all inbound.
I suspect
we
it,
get a
'cause
lot
to do that volume. You have to be all inbound.
Yeah. So I've been, like I said, July here it'll be my 30th year in real estate. I know I've owned a brokerage. I've owned 2 brokerages. I know a lot of realtors. I've done a lot of business with realtors. They know there's so many bad actors that send out blind offers every day.
Yeah.
And they, so they've actually done me a favor because realtors now know if they want a real offer, want somebody that's going to close every single time, they know to call me.
And that drives down your marketing costs.
Exactly. So we get probably 20% of our deals are from other realtors that are just calling in and go, "Hey, I can't put this house on the market. How much can you give me?" They whether they have animals or it's just gross or whatever it may be. So we do a lot of business with other realtors in the valley, and we tell them, "You just tell us how much you want to make on the referral fee, and we'll pay you on that, and adjust our offer accordingly." And so we work really great hand in hand together. But we get 20 to 25 leads a day that come in, and it's a pretty other than that's about it. Like 20, 25. Wow. So I don't even know what that is. What's 25 times
750?
20. Yeah.
There you go, Mr. Mathematician over here.
You're fast though, math.
That's what I do.
You're doing it all day, every day.
All day, every day.
Okay, and then what does it cost you to get a deal? Because I know the costs are going up a lot with inbound. For you right now, do you know what it costs you to get a deal versus how much you're making on the average?
Yeah. So, gosh, it changes, and it's gone.
It's high now, right?
It's been trending up for the last 6 years. I mean, year over year, it's been trending up. We just switched companies on a few items that we're doing.
Yeah, I know you're working with Ryan Pineda on testing some of his stuff.
Yeah, we're testing some of his stuff there, and we just switched a marketing company as well for our television and radio and that sort of thing. So the numbers are trending up.
Yeah.
So let me get back to you on that because I think trending up as in better.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know here in the next when I have a little bit more data.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting. Just like dive into like what that looks like to be able to do that kind of volume.
Across your markets, what are you spending a month? $500,000 in marketing?
On all 3 of them?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's over $1 million.
Over $1 million.
You're spending over $1 million.
So it's so important for people to see
Holy
that,
moly.
right? Like, and the other thing I like to highlight is someone says, and I always say, I never look in your pocket. God bless America. I don't care if you make $200,000 on the deals. Some deals I see you make $2,500. It doesn't matter. My price, my price. But everyone thinks, oh, Doug just made $50,000 or $40,000 on that's crazy. Yeah, but how much did he spend in marketing? No one's looking about how much does he spend for not only the marketing, how much does it cost to run the 16 people in the office, the overhead, and then plus the 30 years experience. So it's not like he made that money. No, he's got a big investment of $12 million a year to acquire these deals. People are very short-sighted when they're looking in your pocket, hypothetically. Wow. So it's important to highlight that.
So it's also important to say, I wasn't doing that kind of volume or that kind of spend 5 years ago. I wasn't doing that kind of spend 2 years ago.
Right.
It's only recently that I've upped it and upped it and upped it and upped it. So I remember the first time when I started TV ads, I think we were doing $2,500 a week.
That's interesting.
And I was scared to death.
Right.
Scared to death. But commercials were a lot cheaper back then. I only did commercials because I was on Property Wars on Discovery Channel. I thought it'd be cool to be like, hey, I want to do it and say I want to buy your house.
Right.
To everyone that was watching Property Wars on Discovery Channel. So it made everyone else is trying to sell shirts and coffee mugs and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to buy houses.
Right. Yeah. Well, were you able to run your own ads on your own TV show?
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Banger.
That's great.
Yep. That's how this all started.
Wow.
That's how it all started, with buying directly, because I was mostly buying it at trustee sales.
Yeah.
I didn't go direct to the public. So that didn't start until 2012, 13. So
Wow.
that's when I came up with the idea to run a commercial. And 10 years later, or 12 years later, it's paid off.
Incredible.
But yeah,
So-
it went a lot. So it started maybe even less than 2,000 a week. It was not much.
Right.
And I wasn't making a bunch of money. And then I made one deal that paid for a couple of months. And then I'm like, okay. And then, I just just periodically just kept upping it, as things got better. It'd be a lot harder to do that now because there's so much competition, especially here in Phoenix. You got 6 different guys that are running ads, and they're spending all that money. So you're trying to break into that,
Sure.
making that with that budget. But there's a lot of places across the country where there's nobody that's advertising to buy houses. And I think it's a really great way to build your credibility, especially if you're the guy going on appointments.
Yeah.
You almost become a local celebrity,
Yeah.
That was leading into my
You're
next
the guy I
question.
saw on
So
TV.
early on in our relationship, Doug bought a couple houses. We kicked it off. He goes, "Hey, you want to come to the Suns game with me?" I said, "Absolutely." I think I had plans that night or a hot date. I go, "Doug's invite you to the Suns game." "Sorry, babe, I'm heading to the game." So I go to the game, and the next day people see us on TV. "How do you know Doug Hopkins, the celebrity, this and that?" I'm like, "Oh, he's down to earth. He's a really nice guy." How has that fame and notoriety impacted your life when you're going out to dinner, or you feel like the same guy? And what's
Yeah. So it's uncomfortable at first, but I've gotten used to it. I remember how I felt when I would meet somebody and how I would feel about them afterwards, right? So there's a lot of people that I met that were awesome. You're like, "Hey, big fan, can I take a picture?" "Yeah, sure, come on over." And there's people where, "Oh man, big fan, can I take a picture?" Get out of here. I'm like, Patrick Ewing, one of them. I used to love him as a Knick. He was a complete jerk to me in Las Vegas. I could care less about him now. Same thing. What's the guy from Taxi and Jim on Taxi and Back to the Future, the older guy.
Oh, yeah.
The
What's
gray
his
hair?
name?
Yeah.
What's his
Christopher Lloyd. Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah.
I think it's Christopher Lloyd. I think he was really not nice to me in Utah. I met him at a place in Utah, and he was not nice to me. Don Mattingly, my all-time like childhood hero growing up for the New York Yankees. I met him. He was as nice. It's very rare you get to meet your childhood hero, let alone have them be even more awesome.
That's so cool.
Than you even had him pictured in your mind. I always am very, very nice to people, and I like I said, I'm the same person, and I don't care. There's been times where it's been awkward and like, really, this is happening right now, when you're in the middle of a conversation and someone just pops in and just, but I'm never disrespectful. I never said anything, and I do it, and then I'll politely, if I have to, I'll either leave or say, "I'm so sorry, I have to go," or something. I'll do it in a way that doesn't make them feel awkward or hurt them, because there's been time or two where people just don't leave. They just want to sit there and talk and talk. So when I ever do that, I'm very cautious and think about their time, and few seconds and I'm out of there, right? Or unless they want to engage a little bit, and then I'll do that. But I just I would hate. There was one time I was at a Suns game, and somebody came, "Oh, can I take a picture with you?" I'm like, "Sure." And one of my friends was with me. It's like, "Oh, what, you want to take a picture with? He's a jerk. You really want?" It made them feel like a complete jerk.
Yeah.
And I said, "Don't ever do that again.
Yeah.
Don't ever do that again."
Yeah.
I go, "That person was excited, and you just made him feel like,
Why
you
would
think
they do
you're
that?
joking about me."
Right.
He thought he was trying to like, "Oh, Doug, what the," think. I don't do that to me.
Correct.
And I said, you think you're being funny to me. You just hurt that guy's
sure.
feelings big time. Made him feel about this big, and he looked at me and goes, "I didn't think about that. Well, you're absolutely right. I'll never do that again." And so it was a learning experience for my friends as well, because they weren't used to that. And now pretty much anyone like, "Hey, do you want me to hold the camera for you? And I'll take a picture for you," and stuff like that. It's weird, especially if they ask for an autograph. I'm like, that is It's not, like, do not. I'm like, just take. I'm like, no. I go, let's just take a picture together. I think that'll be better than an autograph. The
So
autographave is
funny.
worth nothing. At least we'll have a
That's
picture together.
so
You know?
funny.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I love it.
Here's my finer bang question for you.
Yeah.
You've reached the highest, one of the highest levels of success. It's all relative. You're amazing at what you do. You talked about complacency before. You have that strong work ethic, going in the office every day, 8 to 6, Monday through Sunday. I mean, crazy from when you started to today. You still have that tenacity. When you wake up in the morning, what drives you? What is it that keeps you engaged in this game and doing what you're doing on the highest level?
Got it. I've struggled with that. It used to be my family, and having enough to know that that we'd never be in trouble, that I'd never have to worry about money or losing my house or anything like that. So that was a driving force from growing up, and I think growing up without as much as most helps you, and it gives you the drive, whether you realize it or not, gives you the drive to succeed, and because of what you've went through or witnessed your parents go through. So I think that people that have struggled or saw their parents struggle, I think they have an advantage in life. I think a lot of people think it's the opposite, but I don't.
Yeah.
I've been struggling with what my purpose is for the last year and a half, because my family is taken care of. My kids are all grown out. I'm an empty nester. And so I pondered that for a long time. And I was at a CG meeting, and I was really depressed. And I went outside, and I upgraded to an ocean view. I was staying at the Seabird Hotel in Oceanside. And
Doug's so frugal, by the way. He takes an interior view of a wall.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars. Give me your cheapest room.
What
please.
happens, they say, okay, you have to, here's the room block. And I always got an ocean view.
Got it.
But they didn't have them. So I had to upgrade to like the biggest suite they had, which cost me a ton of money.
Sure.
And so, but I decided not to go to classes that day. And I was just sitting out there looking at the ocean, just trying to see what is my what now? What next? What do I do? I got the houses that are free and clear. I'm making millions of dollars in real estate every year. But there's more to life than just money, Like, what else is there? And I just started looking at YouTube videos and just trying to figure out what my purpose was. And a man called Steve Harvey comes across my thing, and I'm going, and Steve Harvey told a story about purpose and what you were born to do. And so I listened to Steve Harvey, and my eyes started watering, and I started thinking, I'm like, that's me. And basically, and I'm going to get this all wrong, and I think it got taken down because I sent it to so many people, and I went to go send it to somebody else, and I clicked on it, and it wasn't there anymore, which is really unfortunate, because it was great. And he was talking about, if you're waking up in the morning and you hate it when that alarm clock goes off, you're not living your purpose. I haven't waken up in the morning. I haven't had an alarm clock in I don't know how long. I don't use an alarm clock. I used to have to use an alarm clock every day when I went to school, when I had all those jobs beforehand. And I hated it. I hated hearing the bam, 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 and hitting snooze, and I have not used an alarm clock, and every once in a while, if I have to wake up really, really early for a flight or something like that, I'll use it. But I don't, even when it goes off, I'm like, I remember looking at the clock, when you had to time in at work and looking at that clock and going, it's getting so much closer. I don't want to go to work. Oh my gosh, I go to work at 4 o'clock. It's 1 o'clock. You're like, and then you see it's 2, and like, I remember those days. And he said something like your purpose is something that you do naturally and you love and you're really, really good at. Naturally good at. And I think I'm really naturally good and I'm living my purpose because I'm helping people, not only the people that I go out and buy their houses from, because I'm solving their problems.
Yeah.
And I'm also providing for 13 people in Arizona plus their families. And then the same thing, I think we have 17 people plus in California, maybe more than that now, I can't remember. And then the few people we have in Las Vegas. The amount of lives that we are able to affect in a positive way each and every year really brings me a lot of satisfaction. So I am living my purpose, which is to go in and help people and help people, not only the sellers and helping them solve their problem, and doing it the right way, knowing that they're getting a deal that's going to close, and I'm going to do exactly what I say I'm going to do by helping the guys that we sell to, and helping them and their families, to helping every employee that works for me and them and their families, and it enables me to get money as well that I can help and do my charitable things to help them and so on and so forth, because it can't always be about you all the time. It can't always be about money all the time. It's got to be about helping others and being there for others. And the older I get, the more I understand that, and the more I 100% know that that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of, I know our industry, we get a lot of hate because people think we're like the garbage collectors of real estate.
Right.
But in reality, we're the ones that rebuild these neighborhoods.
For
like
sure.
without guys like you, these neighborhoods fall apart. These houses, they deteriorate. They
like in the foreclosure market, when the foreclosures were going on and nobody was buying houses and everything else, those HOAs weren't getting money. The neighborhoods looked horrible, and they're like, oh, these vultures are coming in and buying at 50 cents on the dollar. Well, these vultures are helping rebuild this and getting a higher amount, a higher price for the whole neighborhood, and making the HOAs whole. And
the tax revenue, the police need, and the fire department.
It's the whole domino effect of everything that you're talking about. It's not just your 30 plus employees, it's my people, my contractors and crews. So if you really follow that lineage of one deal, from title, everybody, there's so many families that eat per deal. So you're solving multiple problems with just one transaction.
Yeah. I want to do a video on this for Investorlift, and the video is like about the heroes of America that are rebuilding America one house at a time.
There you go.
It's like a shout out to like all the unsung heroes in real estate, guys behind the scenes, the immigrant worker that wakes up at 5 a.m. to go out to a job site, the title agent that like no one ever sees, but like is working so hard to like clear title, and like
I think that could be a lot of fun for people to see that, for sure.
Yeah.
Because nobody recognizes that. You're right. There's a negative connotation traditionally in the world of wholesaling, but I think one of your major attributes in terms of how you differentiate yourself compared to 98% of wholesalers is you're real, your boots on the ground, and
nobody knows who I am. I'm not on social media.
There you go. You're right. They don't know.
The real players know.
But I'm just saying, in terms,
I'd heard about you like 20 times. Every time I was like, I had guys that moved to Scottsdale, like, oh, you got to meet Doug Hopkins. Have you met Doug Hopkins?
For sure. No, but again, we've had a lot of guests that are all virtual, and I think that there's a reason why they have a lot of fallout is because they don't have those relationships. Yeah, they're solving a problem potentially on the phone, but they haven't even seen the asset. Whereas your success and your ratios are so solid is because your boots on the ground. You have the real relationships, the confidence, you've seen the assets. You know that things are going to close. There's no surprises at the end. There's no contingencies. It's not like, hey, let's bring in 50 people through the house. It's already done. And your level of expertise and professionalism and transparency, you can sell your deals without the buyers actually going in them based on your reputation, which is unheard of.
That is, it's one of the best things ever, because I'm pretty much the only one that people are like, okay, if Doug says it's this, it's this.
It's this. It's always
and I'm not saying I don't miss something, because every once in a while I will.
About that. Absolutely.
Every once in a while I'll miss something, and I always make it right.
Correct.
Always.
Yep.
Always.
Okay.
Never will. And there's one time, it wasn't even me. It was one of my guys said it was a 3-bedroom and it was only a 2-bedroom. Made a difference of probably about 20 grand on the value.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, what would you have paid for it if it was a 2-bedroom? And they told me. I'm like, all right, well, I'll get this off. So I took it off.
There you go.
Yeah. Yep. There was another time where a thing needed a septic, and we didn't do a septic cert because we thought it was on sewer.
Yeah.
And that cost some money, and we we threw the money at it and
Yep.
just said, here you go.
Yep.
And there's been a lot of times where I found out afterwards, and I'm like, all right, let's make it right. And they're like, no, you've been so good to us that you don't even worry about it.
For sure.
And most of the time that's what happens, honestly.
Of course.
Like they go, we get it.
Yeah.
We get it. Like it's it's easy to make it. Doug, if you're right 98% out of the time,
You're doing good.
You're
doing great.
Hey, we always got to expect the unexpected sometimes.
For sure.
You know, there's always going to be something that happens. But I've worked with the guys I've worked with for years and years and years. They know there's no way I'm lying. You know, that's the one thing. And there's so many. I get probably 60 deals a day sent to me.
Wow.
From other wholesalers and whatnot in town. The lying of what they say it's worth, and what the
or just
fix-ups
incompetence. Like a lot of people, guys just don't know. Like they just have no clue.
Yeah.
You
I'll get the
think
same
that,
deal.
but a lot of times, in fairness,
a lot of times it's stretched
just
a lot.
puffing. It's
Yeah.
exaggeration.
They found one comp 10
Right.
miles away.
Yeah.
Let me make this easy. Would you write your own check and pay that? You're
Yeah,
asking.
that's the
Would you
question.
really buy that for what you're selling it for? Be honest.
Okay, Doug, we got to do real estate jingle with you. So how this works is all these jingle blocks have a question on it. So what you got to do is pull one of those jingle blocks, which is going to have a question, possibly from a previous guest. And then what we'd love for you to do is answer that question and then write your own question for someone else.
What is the worst investment you ever made?
Worst investment you ever made?
Worst investment I ever made.
Good question. That is from one of our guests, but they didn't sign it. We got to
No,
Who's
it's
that?
not. I wrote this
Or
question.
did you write that one? You wrote that one.
This
That's
is
the
my
Zach question.
writing.
Yeah, there we go. You got to sign the other side there, Zach.
Oh, my bad. I
The
didn't know
worst
what to say.
investment I ever made. Bought a house at trustee sale, and we didn't check title on it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
One of the only ones we've ever not checked title on. We checked and made sure it was a first, but we didn't pull the whole title. This house, we got into it before the sale, and it was absolutely in perfect condition. It's in Scottsdale. House is worth probably about $850 at the time. It was going for about $540. No, $570. We got it for $1 over. Nobody else bid on it. We were jumping for joy.
Yeah.
You
Deal
know,
or deal? No deal. That's a deal.
It's a great deal. Sounds like a great deal.
we go out to put the sign up the next day, paid for it in full. Go put the sign up. Neighbor goes, "What are you doing?" Like, "Oh, we just bought this house. We put it on the market." There was literally nothing to do.
Yeah.
It was absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
And house is scheduled to be condemned. That's been condemned. Well, I'm sorry, what? I said, yeah, it flooded twice. It's in the middle of this, what do you call it? Wash.
Yeah.
And they didn't do the engineering correctly. And so,
Holy shit.
you know, you're not allowed to get power. You're not allowed to get anything. So literally we had scheduled power to get to with our TC. They called up and they said, yeah, no, we can't turn the power on there. It's scheduled to be condemned.
Wow.
So we call up the trustee. We had just paid for it. We're like, hey, we're going to need our money back. We're like, sorry, caveat emptor. Buyer beware. You paid for it. We're made whole.
Yeah.
It's your house. And we're like, you know, that should have been disclosed. You know, it was never disclosed in the write-up and everything else. And so we hired a lawyer. We sued them. We wound up settling and wound up trying to get this right because it was a while ago. We wound up going to the city of Scottsdale, hiring an engineer. We had to reroute like all the water and everything else. It cost us. We got the house and they paid us back some money. I can't remember how much. Anyway, after all was said and done, we lost about $78,000. And
That's not bad for
That's not
worst
terrible.
investment.
Right.
We've had this question before.
Over 2 years. Over 2 years.
Over 2 years.
It-
That is
Carrying
not that
costs
bad.
and the money.
Yeah. It was more the stress.
Yeah.
Right.
So and there was several people that were in on that because I had a partner that and so they were all worried about it, and it was just a hassle. It was
I've done worse than that this year.
no.
What was your
that's
worst?
that's
What's
not
your
my
worst
biggest-
investment?
Yeah, that's not my biggest loss.
Right. But that was
Losing
a
my,
big
okay, yeah, okay. Probably my biggest loss was getting my Bitcoin hacked and empty boxes. I was buying at under $100 when I was a kid, and I had it all in empty Gox and then lost it. That, like, I mean, I don't know what the price is today. I think it's like $70,000 per Bitcoin. Like, every time I'd cut a lawn, I'd take the money and buy more Bitcoin. And, like, Investorlift probably wouldn't exist today if I still had that, because I'd just be living with my Bitcoin money.
How many did you have? Tons.
I don't know. I just know that, like, all my money was rolling into it.
Damn.
So, I mean, it probably wasn't too crazy. I'd probably make, like, I don't know, $3-4 grand in the summer. So maybe I'd pick up.
No, in the Bitcoin. Oh, at that point to roll into it.
Yeah, so maybe I had like 30 or 40.
Still big.
Still a lot, though. Yeah.
2-3 million bucks.
But you know what? I would have been lazy. I would have not had the motivation to build Investor. I know you guys got to get out of here.
Yeah.
You guys both have appointments. Do you want to do deal or no deal? Or
let's just look at one or two deals, see what he says, see what he would pay. Let Doug pick
so
one, and let's talk about it.
What we do is, on deal or no deal, here's all the deals on Investorlift today in Arizona. So what we like to do is just look at a couple of them and look at, you know, what the wholesaler posted it, and we just give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Is it a deal or is it not a deal? So let's pull up a couple. When you see one that looks
Go to the 3099 one right there. That looks interesting. Let's see what this is. Great opportunity. Photos inside. Maricopa.
Right.
Let's view the full address. So 1590 square feet. It looks like it's a Maryville kind of deal. The inside's not terrible. Popcorn ceilings. Look, by the way, just let's talk about these pictures for a second. Someone's trying to sell this deal. You can barely see it.
Get a better camera, because the lights are on. You got to get a better camera than that.
Open up the windows.
Yeah,
right.
that's bad.
Floors don't look too bad.
Yeah.
2-car garage. 1590 feet.
Where's the kitchen? Man, go back one. Go back another one. So, whoever's taking these pictures, and for just for anybody that's out there in houses taking pictures, boy, get in. The more pictures, the better. And you got to make it's just like on Zillow. Honestly, if you're looking on Zillow and you have good pictures and everything else, you can sell those. I mean, that's what your audience is looking at. I'm looking at, I can't tell if that shower's been remodeled or not remodeled. There's no up close pictures of it. You're taking it from afar. It's really dark. Get your flash on or do something and get up close pictures. Keep going. I'm sorry.
All they had to do
this is great advice. This is important.
Open that door.
Literally. And open a window, right?
Yeah.
Just get some natural light in there. I want the full address.
Open that shower curtain too.
Right.
Yeah.
So that pool is bad.
That's bad.
Thing. Landscaping pool. Can't really tell the roof. It's hard. Look, definitely needs a roof. Ooh, that's real bad. That's a plus. That tells us a lot right there.
Yeah.
Not only are you going to excavate that, then redo. Oof. One thing that's weird, go back to that left picture. I can already tell you. What doesn't conform is you see how the wall, they built out that room right there. That is, you're never going to see a home on a diagonal right there, and they fur that out. This is probably a 3-2, and they built a fourth bedroom or something over there. Yeah. You're never going to see something like that in a home. Not of this
that is
this area.
Really weird.
Let's see what the address is, and I'll tell you a real number on this, what I'd pay. Doug would know, too. So.
What do you think repairs would be on something like that in this market?
Oh, Gabriel. I'm going to say about $90,000 with the pool and landscaping. You're going to have pool to pull and excavate that pool and then redo it is probably 15 easy to most likely 20 grand with equipment for sure. Roof, you're probably 10,000, and then the full interior. Did we even see that kitchen in there?
No.
I didn't see it. I didn't see the kitchen.
There's no photos of the kitchen.
I didn't see it. So, you're Maryville. There you are. Yeah, just what? Yeah. So that home I would buy for probably max $240. We're way off on price. Yeah. What would you pay for that house?
Yeah.
If you were going to wholesale that, you need to buy that. You bought $220 exactly for sure. Absolutely.
All right.
So we're not even close.
Not a deal.
Oh, that shows Almeria.
What do you think ARV would be on something like that in that area?
ARV for that house, if it's done right and it's conforming and everything else, all day long you'll get $370 to $380.
Yeah,
with the pool, with everything done. What do they put for ARV?
No ARV listed. Yeah.
Oh, you'll be upside down from carrying costs and improvements at that
down.
number.
Definitely not a deal.
Yeah, not even close.
All right, let's hit another one.
Doug, you pick the next one.
Well, go.
Doug likes East Valley.
Yeah, go to the Mesa one for 345.
Here's a Santan
Mesa
for you.
345.
Yep.
Right up
Yep.
there.
Go to this
Yep.
one.
Let's take a look at that one.
Small, 1191 square feet.
All right, 345 ask. Airbnb
Quick and easy.
425.
Show the address for Doug, because he knows them all.
You can request up top too.
Okay.
Yeah.
9301 East Carmel.
Carmel.
Was that your deal?
No,
But you know it.
I own 9309 and 9312 East Carmel.
That's crazy. So you know this so
You know
well.
this.
That's in your
Whinstone.
rental portfolio?
Yeah,
Okay,
not this house. It's right next door.
No, I know, I get it. Those
Yeah.
two are in your rental portfolio. So you know this
Yeah,
well.
I
So
literally
this is a
own
real-
that same. It's 1100 and
91 square feet.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably a
The house is pretty clean.
380 house, 380 to 400.
Okay. So there might be a deal here for is a buy and hold.
Probably
But I think they're asking about 3 1/4. It's not terrible. Look, texture looks good. Cabinets original.
Yeah.
There's a cat in the house. You see the cat stuff right away. You know it's going to stink. Even the vanity was upgraded. Little things that you can just extrapolate quickly. So
Yeah.
you did a
Yeah.
little. Showers original. Floors were upgraded.
Yeah.
Doug will pay a little more because there's sports memorabilia in there.
Yeah, maybe some
He
baseball
keeps it as
cards.
a turnkey.
Yeah.
Question, is there solar and is there a pool on this one? Let's keep rolling. I mean, when I see this house, I feel like it's pretty well maintained. Even they have
Yeah.
real grass back there, a little jacuzzi.
Yeah.
AC needs theirs, $6,000.
Yeah.
Now, it worries me a little bit if you go back. Does it back to a major road? Is there commercial behind you? Do you see everything else? Or is it an interior lot? We can go back there, but you know the street well.
I think it's a like a mid-level road behind it, not a major road.
Okay. There you go, satellite. There it is. Can you zoom?
Yeah, so that particular home is probably built in the late 90s. I'm trying to remember.
It'll say it on
Like
there.
it.
Yeah, so it's also going to depend on the roof because those roofs now are getting to the point where they're
Good
going to need to be redone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know the AC has not been done. So if
Which one was it? Ellsworth?
It doesn't look like it's back in that street though.
no,
It's
it may
See-
no, it can't be siding it. Coral Bell. See, yeah, it's just a Coral Bell. It's not a major.
Okay.
Yeah, Ellsworth is the major
Yeah.
major road.
Okay, so you know it really well. You're
Ellsworth
surrounded by.
Broadway.
Talk about good
Yeah.
economies of scale. So the ask price on this is $345. That's clearly too high. Which is, Doug said right away it's $385. So that's an embellishment.
Yeah, 380 to 400, somewhere in there. I'd have to
But
look
it's
at
not
it.
terrible. So what would you pay for that deal?
So I'm going to tell you exactly how I come up. I just use a simple calculation, right? So if I say the ARV, let's say it's 400.
Yep.
Okay. So if I think hold on a second here.
And you're not trying to wholesale. This is just for you to
This is-
buy,
this is
maybe
for me
put
to
in your
buy.
portfolio.
Yeah.
So I think a house is worth 400,000 ARV. So I take $400,000. I times that number by 0.94.
Okay.
The 0.94, that's basically 6%.
Yep.
Yeah.
I always pay either myself or whoever I sell it to is going to have to pay all the closing costs
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
sellers. So I pay their closing costs, my closing costs. When I go to sell it, I can sell it myself for free because I'm a realtor. If someone else might have to pay 1% or whatever they're going to pay for, and then they're going to have to pay a 2.5% or 3% co-broke plus all the sellers and costs
Yeah.
again. Throw utilities in there. It's just 6% hard costs that you're going to have when you buy
Just
and
for the
resell a
transaction.
home
For sure.
that you
Yeah.
have to take
Yep.
account for, right?
Which
And-
would be higher if you're not licensed, obviously.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
So
also important, buy and sell side, not just
Yeah.
one
Yeah,
side, which is
exactly.
important.
Yeah.
So you have 3 sets of closing costs: buy, sell, sell. Buy and sell on the front, sell on the when you go to sell
Yeah.
it on the back. So 3 sets of closing costs plus utilities plus commissions. When you go to sell it. So that one's most likely going to need a new roof, most likely going to need a
AC.
new air conditioning unit, most likely going to need paint because every house needs paint.
Mhm.
And $5,000 worth of miscellaneous stuff where you're just switching out fans and stuff like that. So that's
$27,000.
$27,000. So you have $27,000 in fix-ups, so minus $27,000. So my break even is $349. right? So then I need to make a profit. I need to make a profit if I'm going to wholesale it for not only for myself, but for my investor. My investor's not going to touch this without making at least $25,000, right? I want to make at least 10. Most likely I'd like to make 20. So if I'm going to minus 45,000 so I can make $20,000 and leave the investor with or $20,000, leave the investor with 25 or 30 or whatever I can do to get to so my buy number will be 304 on this.
304.
So that's how I come to every single house that I go out. I literally do that right in front of myself.
Amazing, smart.
Yeah.
So they know I'm not just coming up with a number out of their mind, because sometimes they read Zillow and they say, okay, this house is worth. By the way, let's see what that.
And do you tell them that you're going to wholesale it? Like, you explain that to them?
No, it's in my contract,
It's in your contract,
that I
but
can't wholesale it.
Do you bring that up at all with the homeowner or?
So it's interesting. When I used to buy direct and have TV advertising back in early 2000s, I bring out the comps, the highest numbers have sold. Your home remodel, you can get this on the market. If I'm coming in and I'm the investor and we have two schools of thought, I'm happy to list this for you or I'll buy it. By the way, I'd bring those comparables and I make the seller sign an initial. So if I buy the house, you can't say that I didn't show you the highest comps. I also say I back into my number as well. I want to make 10%, but if I'm going to invest $250,000, I got 50,000 in construction, so I'm in it at 300. I'd like to make 30. This is how I get my number. If you want to swing the fences for that differential of what I'm hoping to make, we'll list it. If you don't, do you feel that's a fair return for me? If you put up Mr. and Mrs. Seller $250,000 to make, would you want to make 25,000? 90% of them would say, no, I'd like to make more. That's very reasonable, right? So it's not like I'm trying to make 50%. And they'd sign us. They say, oh, you took advantage of my grammar. I would never take advantage of anybody. I'm happy to list the house for her. I want to give you multiple solutions. Let's find the best solution for you and sign off on it. That way it's very transparent.
I love that.
By the way, so both on Zillow and Redfin, that house is worth $385,000.
Bingo.
Jackpot. You're like,
So technically your buy price would actually be a little bit less because you rounded up to 4. So let's say it's 385. Then really you need to buy that to wholesale 290.
290.
Exactly. That's the number.
Well, Doug, this has been an incredible episode. I feel like we need to have you back again.
For sure. There's so much good information.
No, there are people going to be sick of me, man. They don't
No, this is great.
Thank you for being very vulnerable, by the way. I mean, going into everything with the family, with down to your last literally dollar, which I'll remember at the $9 breakfast with those two people that brought you in. Really, I learned a lot about you today. It was amazing.
Thank you.
It's so cool.
Awesome. Doug, if people want to learn more about you, you're not on socials, are you?
Yeah, I'm on, what is it, Doug Hopkins Real Estate, I think it's called. You just texted me on something that's what my phone's downloading something, your Instagram story you put on there. Or,
oh, that's Instagram.
Yeah, I got Instagram.
So funny.
So, and I think I'm on Facebook as on Doug Hopkins Real Estate as well. My regular Facebook got hacked, so I can't get into that. So that's been frustrating.
Okay.
Heck, somebody went, but I am Doug Hopkins Real Estate on both on Facebook and Instagram, and so you can get me there.
Wait, he has to do one question.
Oh, you got to rate your question.
Yeah, you have to come up with a question for the next
cut this
guest.
back in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you got to leave a question for someone.
All right.
Any
leave
question you want.
Which you got a new block?
We're gonna have this up on the wall in the office one day.
Where should I put?
What is your angle? Okay, and then on the other side, sign it. Great question. Awesome, Doug. Thanks so much.
No
Appreciate
problem.
it.
My pleasure. Been fun, guys. Thank you.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It's great.
Thank you.